What's happening, everybody? Welcome back here to the Off the Bike Sports Network. So the Major League Baseball season has concluded, and we know who is making the playoffs. Obviously, I'm very happy being a Cleveland Guardians fan. But we need to talk about the New York Mets here for a second. Sorry, Mets fans. I know there's a lot of you out there. The New York Mets are not going to the postseason. Despite starting the season 45-24, they finished the season 83-79. They had a $341 million payroll. $341 million. I think that's second only to the Dodgers. They signed Juan Soto for all of that money, all of that hoopla, all of the, all the pomp and circumstance. They lost to the Miami Marlins. And then the Cincinnati Reds, the team that they were chasing, lost as well to the Milwaukee Brewers. But by virtue of, the Mets just shitting the bed down the stretch of the season, the New York Mets are not going to the playoffs. They could have had a chance to play the Dodgers, and that actually would have been a pretty good series. The Reds might actually, make it interesting because I don't really know what we're going to get from the Dodgers. The Dodgers have been kind of hot and cold the whole season. The fact that they don't have a bye with the level of talent that they have on their roster is kind of ridiculous. But first thing, before I get into the Mets, shout out Terry Francona and Tito. Longtime manager, obviously for the Guardians, multiple-time world champion with the Red Sox. Tito did a lot of great things. Had them on the door, the Guardians, the Indians on the doorstep of a championship about a decade ago. And, did a lot of great things in Cleveland. He stepped away, but he came back. And he, in his first season in Cincinnati, has got the Reds in the playoffs. So good for them. Good for them. They have a payroll that's like $200 million less than the Mets. But the New York Mets, the 2025 New York Mets are one of the biggest failures in Major League Baseball history. I could have easily put that on the Detroit Tigers, but the Tigers at least made the playoffs despite collapsing and giving up the division. They have one of the biggest collapses on the American League side because, hey, they had a 15.5 game lead in July and lost the division. The Mets, I told you guys at the top of this video, $341 million payroll. They were 21 games over 500 after, they were 45-24 to start the year through the magical number of 69 games. Nice. Thanks, Jeff Passan, for that stat. But the Mets not making the playoffs with Francisco Lindor and Pete Alonso and Juan Soto and all these big names after they went to the championship series last year. All of this, and they add Juan Soto, one of the best players in baseball, and they're not in the playoffs. Holy shit! What a fucking debacle! What a debacle for the Mets to just not make the playoffs. At this point, you got to fire the manager. You got to reshuffle the thing. Money doesn't necessarily, especially in baseball, money does not necessarily buy everything. And I know some Yankees fans are going to be dancing on graves because Soto turned them down, but it's like, the Yankees fans have been miserable a lot of this season because Aaron Boone is still their manager. And, hey, they almost won the division this year, but the Toronto Blue Jays edged them. But you had a do-or-die situation in Miami against the Marlins. Do or die. With Cincinnati playing Milwaukee. And you lost 4-0. You got shut out. You don't deserve to be in the playoffs. 21 games over 500 through the first 60-plus games of this season, and you can't make the playoffs with almost a $350 million payroll? What an embarrassment. What an embarrassment. The Cleveland Guardians, for contrast here, they have a payroll that's, I think, sub 100 million. Sub 100 million. Down 15.5 games 2.5 months ago, they came back and won the division. Yet, and I love Frankie. I love Francisco Lindor, and he wanted this. He wanted to get more money, but what does he have to show for it? I think he's got one championship series appearance since he got there. And you've got all of this talent, all of this money. You have one of the richest owners in the sport, and you can't get to the playoffs? You can't even get to the playoffs. And you let the Cincinnati Reds, a young team with a manager who just walked in there, it's not surprising that Terry Francona got him there, because Terry Francona turns chicken salad out of chicken shit, really. And I'm not saying that Cincinnati's a bad team, but Cincinnati has not been necessarily a playoff caliber contender for a while. But for the Mets to blow this in the fashion that they did is honestly one of the biggest failures in Major League Baseball history. Like, it doesn't make any sense how you find a way over the last 3+ months of the season. You give Juan Soto $700 million. You have Francisco Lindor. You get Pete Alonso back off of, when you thought maybe he was going to go elsewhere. Like, it is remarkable that the Major League Baseball postseason is not going to include the New York Mets, given all of the resources and all of the talent and all of the bravado and everything and all the hype that they had coming into this season. What a failure. Like, what a failure for this team to not be in the playoffs. And like I said, had they gotten in, I think them and the Dodgers actually would have been a really interesting first-round wild card series. 3 games in LA, I mean, it would have been a legitimate coin flip. I don't know what I'm getting from the Dodgers. I really don't. But hey, here we are. Dodgers are facing the Reds. The Mets are going home. Pete Alonso's probably not coming back. At least he's opting out of his contract. We'll see if he does come back. You got Juan Soto for a bunch of years. It's $70 million per. You paid him all that money to just not get to the playoffs. Seriously. Like, it would be so easy for me to just shit on the Detroit Tigers. But the reason why I'm not is because they still made the playoffs, and the Guardians, my team, have to play them at minimum 2, maybe 3 games starting on Tuesday. But the Mets are different, like I said. There was a lot expected of this team, and for them to just not even get in and have a do-or-die scenario with their season on the line, knowing that the Reds were facing off against one of the best teams in baseball, the Brewers, and you come out and get shut out by the Marlins. It's just emblematic of how the second half, and really the latter half of this season, went for the Mets. It's just like, heads are going to roll. Heads are going to roll. And they got to figure shit out about how they're going to function this team. Because to me, you cannot justify moving forward with everything that they put into this and having the second biggest payroll in baseball and you not make the playoffs. It's emblematic of what baseball is. But still, when you have that much money invested in your team and you don't even make it, that's insane. That's an unfathomable statistic. So, if you're a Mets fan, I feel sorry for you, man. But then again, Mets have been failing their fans for years. But when you have something like this where you're giving all this money, you have this great start, you have Francisco Lindor, you have, Juan Soto, you have all these studs on your team coming off a National League Championship Series, appearance against the Dodgers, who ended up winning the World Series. And I think you took them to 6 games. That's all you get. You don't even get a chance to play in the playoffs. That's embarrassing. So anyway, thanks everybody for watching. I'll see you guys soon. Bye-bye.